Hey everybody, it's Busted Strategies number 57, jumping into another Crimson Vow draft. I'm starting to feel a little bit better with this format, a little bit better. I think kind of my problem that I haven't like quite been able to wrap my head around was that it didn't feel like Midnight Hunt was like a particularly aggressive format, but it was like felt like a big curve heavy format. And then if you kind of fell behind on your curve at any point, you just kind of lost the game. And just that's not the case with this set. This is a much slower set. Certainly not the most like grindy set I've ever played, but it feels more along the lines of like a core set draft as to where the synergies exist, but they aren't super important. The thing having like ways to get a bunch of 2-for-1s is pretty important. Having the blood tokens really kind of slows down the format and gives you a lot of payoff for stalling out the game, since you get 6 or 7 or 8 land on the board, and then you can just cycle away every land you draw from that point. And then the bombs are pretty strong in this format, both in terms of compared to Midnight Hunt. There's uh, a lot of just stronger bombs in the format, and you can play like 6 and 7 cost rares. This is one of these formats to where you can most definitely play a Toxrill, the 7 mana slug that aces your opponent's board, or you can play Hullbreaker behemoths and such. And I don't think in Midnight Hunt draft, I don't think that there were sevens in the format. I can't remember if there were even 7 cost cards in the format, but I think like the more direct comparison is I feel completely okay in this format playing multiple copies of, like, I will play 2 Lacerate Flesh, the 5 mana red removal spell, and play say like 2 copies of the white spell that costs 6 to kill a unit, or the black spell that makes 2 blood tokens. To whereas in Midnight Hunt, you would never dream of doing that. You would just get annihilated when you had a hand that was just that super clunky. And so it's taken me like a bit of time to kind of wrap my head around the kind of slowing tempo of the formats, but I'm starting to get there. I'm really starting to improve here. So with this opening pack, not a lot of really big bombs. I mean, Edgar's Awakening is okay. Change of Fortunes most certainly not the quality of bomb we're looking for. I don't want to be starting with Piercing Lights. I'm the biggest fan in this pack of the black cards in both Rot-Tide Gargantua and the Digraph Scavenger, but there is kind of a big payoff card in the Sigardian Paladin. I'm not a huge fan of the training archetype, but I am a kind of big fan of green in this format. I think green might have landed as being the most powerful color in the format, but I don't really want to be in kind of like um, the training deck. So I'm looking at just coming down here and just picking up the Rot-Tide Gargantua. I like the this in pretty much every black deck, whether or not it's just being used as um, a big finisher or a removal spell. I'm trying to get a. You don't specifically have to be in blue black exploit for this card to be good. Okay, and then as we move into the next one, really, kind of big payoff cards in black between the Markov Purifier and the Blood Tithe Harvester. I kind of like the Purifier a bit more. I like that the format is fairly slow. This gives you a lot of times to just come out here and just generate card advantage. So I'd be reasonably happy with it. Oh, sorry. I thought I hit stop recording and it didn't. So I didn't mean to just cough at you all. But I think the Markov Purifier is going to be fine. Um, the Bloodseeker is okay, but let's take a risk here with the white black card. That's kind of the other thing. I felt like I wasn't doing enough of. I was kind of immediately trying to jump off into just like build around strategies as to where I needed to kind of let the drafts just take the higher powered cards much earlier than I was doing in the past. It's very easy just to like switch colors in the second pack now. We say we're drafting like black white, and then we open some big amazing black red card. We open Olivia in pack 2. We can very easy look to play black red or just to splash that Olivia. But here, kind of in the same vein, there's no white cards. Both, if we're looking to, back to black, we're just getting the exploit card. But if we're drafting exploit, I want to be picking up Biolume Egg. This one is one of the big payoff cards for being in the exploit deck. I don't mean to make two exploit videos in a row, but if that's where she lands, that's where she lands. So we'll pick up the egg and see if things keep going this way. And it looks to be what's happening to us here. We have access to a Diver Scab. In terms of white-black, that could be where we want to still go. I mean, there is the Fierce Retribution as a high-quality removal spell. The Panic Bystander is good, but it's not something that's going to like sway me away from this Biolume Egg. So this is actually kind of tough. I mean, I do really like the Purifier. This card draw ability is quite good. And kind of the downside to this blue-black deck we have at this point are we don't have any of the black removal spells. We don't have Bleed Dry. We don't have the 6-mana big removal. But let's just go with the removal pick here. It's like it's such a bomb-heavy format. It feels kind of painful to let to get to the end of the draft and not actually have removal spells. As we pick up a Bleed Dry here, and so it was a we would have picked up a removal, but hey, having two is not that bad. not that bad having multiple removals. Okay, so with this, I'm not a big fan of Vampire Slayer in this format. Again, it's like fairly slow. I don't feel like we need to be doing that kind of thing. I think this pack would either come down to the Blood Fountain or the Gluttonous Guest, and I'm kind of leaning towards just taking the Guest here. We do already have one of the card or gain life payoff cards, and the Gluttonous Guest does play into that. I do kind of want to pick up a Blood Fountain. It's just another really easy way to get a 2-for-1 kind of spread out across the game, but I think the Gluttonous Guest is kind of what our deck is missing a little bit of here. Okay, Desperate Farmer is fine. We have some of the exploit means to get this guy to flip. We might be looking for things kind of like Pestilent Specimen. I'm not amped about playing cards like that, but let's go ahead and snatch up the Farmer. I at least think here we should be kind of locking ourselves into black, and then we still have some time to decide if we want to play white-black or blue-black, or again, if we find like an Olivia in the next pack, we can still switch into a different flavor. Okay, I haven't been like amped about Skulking Killer, but it's tough to deny that if you get one of these 2-for-1s, it's a pretty powerful play. But I think I'm just looking to switch back in and take the Blood Fountain here. It's tough for with the deck that we've assembled here to really like dictate what our opponent's board is allowed to look like. And so I think it's just going to be an expensive 4-attack unit most of the time. How do we look in terms of catapult fodder? We have 2 creatures that play into this at this point. I'm going to go for it. The Piercing Lights aren't that tough to pick up in this format, and so I will look to pick up a Piercing Light, but I think the catapult fodder is kind of interesting here. Is if we do manage to pick up, more Gluttonous Guests or more big booty kind of bros without actually being in green-black. Not opposed to play green-black, but we have a pretty decent option here. I don't like Wanderlit Spirit in any of the blue-black decks. It's just you're never that aggressive with these. It's okay in blue-white. I don't think we'll want it in blue-black, so I'll go with the Servitor. I have played this in a few decks and been reasonably happy with it. This is another card that looks like it should just be kind of a real garbagey gray ogre, but the blood tokens are pretty strong. I've been happy enough with them. So yeah, we've got 2 white cards, whatever, one blue card, whatever. A big pile of black cards that we're pretty happy to be playing here. Look at this Piercing Light rolling through. So good. Oof. I guess they're all rolling through. Nice. They aren't like super strong. I initially thought they were going to be like pretty big into like a tempo oriented kind of format, but it didn't shake out that way. Again, Piercing Light would have been fantastic in Midnight Hunt. In this format now, it's kind of yeah, kind of meh. If you get to kill a unit in Scry, it's a pretty good deal though. Nurturing Presence. Definitely playable. Not something I'm really looking to play here, but something we could look to use in a different deck. Let's just go ahead and get it out. Catilda's kind of interesting, right? She does a lot. We certainly don't have a lot of spirits or enchantments to ramp her up, but she does activate our lifelink kind of cards like the Markov Purifier. She does play pretty reasonably well with the likes of things like Traveling Minister, just to really chunk in some damage and do big life swings, like a pretty easy 6 point life swing or 7 pointer even. If you give the Catilda +1 attack, you gain a life. And then the flashback is what I'm mainly interested in, or I guess I should say the disturb, to just give any dude on your board flying and lifelink is pretty powerful. Happy to snatch up Catilda. I'm curious if we have any spirits and or enchantments. Doesn't look like we do. Not to say we won't pick up like a Drug Skull Infantry along the way, or we won't have like a random Distracting Geist. They're not really what we're looking for, but we might find them somewhere. Here we're just going to pick up the Traveling Minister. This is a very fantastic unit. I kind of initially underrated it, then overrated it, and underrated it, and I'm pretty happy with the Minister here. Okay, so with this, I'm looking to pick up another Gargantua, and then hopefully we can wheel the Kindly Ancestor. This is the kind of way where it's kind of like, yeah, we might get a spirit or two into play for Catilda. I'm not going to go out of my way to try and pick these up. It also works pretty reasonably well with things like Rot-Tide Gargantua, just to give us a fairly safe sacrificable unit. This is Hullbreaker Horror. I assure you, this is most certainly playable in this format. This dude is pretty nutsos here. Someone's going to get a gift when no one else realizes that you can play 7 mana cards in this format. Let me fix our land and spells here real quick. Fierce Retribution comes out here. Biolume Egg, not going to play. Guests, Farmer, Catapult thing. Okay. So where did we land here? I'm okay with playing at least one copy of the Beguiler. He's again, this is a pretty slow format, and if our opponent's kind of counting heavily on, one big dude, it is nice to have the tappers. But we can probably just find these later. I am actually just going to come over here and pick up the Graph Reaver. It's not super strong. It is a 3/3 for 3, which is an exceptional deal, and we can pretty well counteract this this self damage to us, but. I just our curve is getting a bit out of hand here, and I want to ensure that we have like some stuff to do in the early game. All right, fairly weak pack for us. I don't like the Undying Malice. Blue is clearly open at this point, as we saw that Hullbreaker swing by, but the Fleeting Spirit, again, it's going to be fine here. What is this? Oh, he blinks. That's what he does. It's a reasonable 3-attack unit for the early game. Oh, I guess black is open, though. We got the Bleed Dry. There's the Ancient Lumberknot. Again, it's kind of interesting. I could see a world where we look to splash it, but we're not passing on Bleed Dries here. Okay, and then how much do we want something like Doomed Dissenter? We have 2 exploits at this point with the Rot-Tide Gargantua. I don't think we'll land on any more, but I mean, we do already have something like a Desperate Farmer we might be interested in playing. I think I would rather just go ahead and pick up the Dissenter as opposed to the Mind Leech School, though. Okay, and then if this was best of 3, I would have been pretty interested in these boarded windows, but I don't think it's particularly good in this format. It would have been fantastic in Midnight Hunt, but in Crimson Vow, again, there's not enough kind of like really go wide aggressive-y style decks. Even what I thought was going to be kind of like the go wide aggressive stuff with the red decks at the beginning of the format. Didn't really play out that way. So, nope. We picked up the Courier Bat. I was going to stop and talk about that for a minute. It plays okay here. Again, it's another reasonable 2-for-1. We don't have any trouble gaining the lives here. Okay. Look at all these blue cards rolling through. How do things still look for Catapult fodder? We've got... Don't think we're assembling enough of a deck to where we end up playing it, but definitely a lot of bigger booty bros that that make an appearance in these style decks. Jeez, blue is so open. I wonder if we should have just switched when we saw that. Been like, yeah, we got Catilda, but you know, just got to switch into blue because that Hull Breaker Behemoth would have been pretty powerful, and then all the blue stuff rolling through. But nonetheless, we didn't do it, and it's a little bit too late now. So I'm gonna just go ahead and snatch up another Bleed Dry and Premier removal in this format. Don't think we'll wheel anything out of this, but if we do start to pick up things like Dawnhart Geist, Traveling Minister, Pestilent Specimen, be pretty happy to do so. Okay. So do we ever want to play 3 Rat-Tide Gargantuas as the Mirror Hall mimics are just rolling through? Blue is so insanely open. Uh, do we ever just play 3 Gargantuas? And it's kind of tough in terms of like if we have just like a handful of ways to sacrifice stuff, be it Drogskull Infantry, the 2/3 lifelink, um, it's pretty fair that we can just sacrifice stuff off and not just lose a ton of value to these. But um, I think we're okay. I just worry about having enough targets for these. I'm a big fan of this unit though. Like we're gonna be letting these pestilence specimens just roll around. Here I'm gonna pick up the Griffwing Cavalry. Oh no, never mind, never mind. I thought this was the 2/3 flyer that makes your life gain 1 more. We're good to take Parasitic Grasp here. It's another Premier removal. Maybe we'll see the 2/3 that gains a bunch of life. He's got to be pretty ideal here if we can get one of them to show up. I think we're looking at another Courier Bat. I would really like it in this deck if we just had like another Traveling Minister. I want like another consistent way to gain life, which I just don't feel like we're going to get. I don't want to be trying to use Desperate Farmers for that kind of thing. There is Wedding Security, which just turns your blood tokens into actual card draws. I don't think we have enough blood generation, though. We just have the singular Gluttonous Guest. And then I thought we had a spell, maybe the Blood Fountain. So I think we can let him go. Not really interested in Mind Leech School. I guess we can pick up the Desperate Farmer, but doesn't feel particularly strong here. Panic Bystander is good. He's better than all these others. I don't think we have enough zombies for the Archghoul to be interesting. Probably not playing Catapult Fodder. Yeah, we don't have any. Okay. Bell Stinger is a pretty strong pickup. I mean, this is unfortunate. Like, I mean, we just don't have any good targets. We've been seeing a lot of these like pestilent specimens rolling around, but I was really hoping that our sacrifice targets for these were going to be like be the enchantments with Disturb. Digraph Scavenger is still pretty strong. Another life gain bro. The ability is extremely relevant. I think we need, like, I'm not amped about playing Persistent Specimen. We're not playing Nurturing Presence, but let's have 4 exploits at this point. Probably just not going to play it, but that's tough. That's where the draft has kind of gotten away from us. Was maybe we should have picked up like the Drogskull things a little bit higher, but is that Drogskull Reaver, the 2/2 that flashes back to put the 2/2 enchantment down? Just don't want to be I don't want to be playing Persistent Specimens. Maybe we'll play 1 copy. I am happy enough to play a Beguiler though. Trying to stop and see how our booties look. We got 1, 2, 3 in the Purifier, 4 in the Guest. I'm surprised we didn't see more Gluttonous Guests. Yeah, we're not going to have enough for the not enough sacrifice or not enough toughness guys for something like Catapult Fodder to work. Okay, well, let me double check our sideboard, see if we're missing anything. Nurturing Presence we're not going to play. And that is it. There's a Blood Servitor. I don't think we'll end up playing either of these. I am kind of okay with it. Maybe we will think about it more since we do have like the Rat-Tide Gargantuas. It is a pretty reasonable way to just play a unit that you can sacrifice off because it's not just completely dead, right? You got the blood token at the end of the day. Okay, I think we're playing all of our spells. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's one of our few 2-for-1s in here. Kind of like another 2-for-1. I would have been pretty happy if we picked up the spell that draws 2, does 2, and makes 2 blood tokens. We can get around that a bit with the spell Stinger. I really wanted to statch this up just to make sure we have another draw 2, but I think it's okay. I mean, we do have the Blood Fountain as well to work with the Rot-Tide Gargantua. So, what are we taking out here? It's like, I don't want to play the Specimen. I think he's going to go. Maybe play the Witch. I don't think we're going to. I want to hang on to the Doomed Dissenter. It is a pretty good sacrifice target. But let's go ahead and move these guys over. I don't think we want to play Desperate Farmer. Where does that get us? We're going to take out 8. So we would need to take out 1 more card for this to be our deck. Courier Bat, I want to stay. It's just another way for us to get 2-for-1s. And I guess, I mean, it is pretty slow, but if we are, even if we have to say, like, exploit a Traveling Minister, then bring the Minister back with the Courier Bat, that's not the end of the world. I can still see that being okay. I mean, we have 3 raised dead effects, and so I don't think we need to go out of our way to play these low quality cards like Persistent Specimen. So I think that's fine. Need to get 1 more card out of here. I definitely want the Guest. It's one of my all-time favorite Horned Turtles in the Gluttonous Guest. This one has really grown on me in this format. Just to clog up the board and make the blood token and gain like 2 or 3 health. It's been a pretty good deal. Yeah, I don't think we're playing any of these. The farmers, no. I don't think we have enough blood tokens to take advantage of the other thing there. No, we want to get a creature out. Kind of looking at Fleeting Spirit, but I feel kind of bad dropping too low in the early game. Could maybe cut a Courier Bat. Or, I mean, 3 Rot-Tide Gargantuas does feel like a lot, but it's been really feeling pretty good. I could actually look to cut just like a Piercing Light. Maybe we'll do that. Or I guess the kind of the flip side of the argument with Piercing Light would be if we're worried about having just enough dudes and stuff in the early game, then the Piercing Light is a good way to shut down any kind of like really painful aggression in the early game. I could see that. I'm just like looking more and more towards like taking out a copy of Courier Bat, but I really like the I really like having the card advantage here. We don't have any. We only have the 1 draw 2 with the Felstinger. You know, maybe I'll just play 41. Piercing Light and some of these like early game plays weren't horrible, right? No, it's just the Ragged Recluse. Yeah, I don't think we have enough blood tokens for this. Okay, I'll just play 41. I've been doing that more and more recently. Like I need to get really a lot more comfortable with the format, then it'll be a lot easier to say like, okay, well the Graf Reaver has no business in this deck. Let's take it out. But I still feel like I need to experiment a bit with these cards and make sure we're getting in the right spot with them. And so I feel fine enough playing 41. We'll be okay. And let's get ourselves out here into battle. Okay, off to battle. So certainly a serviceable deck here. We got our 4 premium removal spells, the 2 cheap ones, and the Piercing Lights. Reasonable game enders. We got a Sword of Bomb and a Catilda. She's no Hullbreaker Behemoth, but Catilda is still fairly strong. I mean, just slapping the Flying Lifelink onto a 5/4 Gargantua is a pretty good deal. So yeah, I think we have ourselves a serviceable deck here. All right, we got a bunch of early game stuff to do. Let's keep this and run with it. So yeah, the only thing I would like it if we had like another Traveling Minister, and then another card that's been growing on me quite a bit. It's like the 2/3 bird that it's whenever you do a life gain, you do a life gain +1, and then you can give something else lifelink or something. It's pretty all around pretty powerful, especially if you have 2 Traveling Ministers on the board and you're gaining 4 life every turn. But all right, we're apparently just out here doing that aggro thing. You got a big tempo draw out here. Wandering Mind is fine. Not something I'm really looking to pop with a removal spell. I'm thinking about just playing the Fellstinger and exploiting our spirit. Do exile 3 cards from your graveyard to give it first strike. That's probably never happening. But this 3/3 for 2's out here doing work. that's for certain. Right. What did they pick up? Curse of Hospitality? Sure. I don't think that matters here, right? Does that matter? I don't think so. Alright, and that was a pretty good Piercing Light that we just picked up. If he has to drop a counter spell on it, it's fine, but I like what's happening here. Traveling Minister. I think he could be okay. You know, we're usually looking for like a bit of a higher quality card, but if our intent for the rest of the game is to bleed dry and Fierce Retribution every unit that he plays, then we can actually, you know, just fit this in. We can like play our 6th land, and then just be, you know, playing as tempo-y as this deck can do. Right? If he like taps out for a dude here and we just bleed dry it, that seems pretty decent. This isn't the time I'd be excited about playing Drago. Then it's like, yeah, that's it. I mean, if you want to, it feels bad to have to like siphon removal the Traveling Minister, but yeah, Overcharged Amalgam. Okay, I mean, we'll let the exploit resolve, and then I think this is probably good enough to just go ahead and bleed dry. Right, we're still kind of in this same space as to where if they want to get a unit on the board, we can keep making this tempo play, and then if they try to play Drago on us, then who really cares? Nope, the retrieval's fine. Raconteur and another Impulse. Okay. So we can't lethal him this turn. We're 1 short, but this is still looking pretty strong. Same deal as last time. If they want to deal with our Fierce Retribution, they have to spend mana to do it, and they probably just don't have enough mana to deal with a board like this. I guess you could have like the Vampire AoE and then follow up with the dude, but no, we can even do that. Like if he has Vampire AoE and follows up with the Overcharged Amalgam, we still win the game. Boom, got him. Tempos, the big tempo draw out of the deck. We'll probably never do that again the rest of the event, but that was one of the things you would run into with the zombies deck in the previous format, where you would have this really controlling blue-black zombies deck, but you would occasionally get a draw where you just straight curved out and punish somebody that stumbled. Okay, not a bad start. If we pick up a land and we get the Dissenter into Fellstinger combo is pretty strong. Opponent took the mulligan to 6 as well. I paused. Are you gonna shock our dude? Don't shock our dude. Fine. I think I'm just going to play the Stinger and not draw the cards. It's a bit unfortunate here, but with him being on the mulligan, I feel like, and then doing all this aggressive stuff, I feel like if we just have time, then we'll be okay. Elena and Elena. The card is fucking nutsos. All right, but yeah, it seems like a decent space to be in. If we pick up one life gain card and we're able to draw a card back out of our graveyard with the Courier Bat, be strong enough. We're going to take a few hits of damage here, but I think we're okay. What blocks, my man? I was looking to bring back the Stinger, but maybe we just want the Scavenger here. Gain a bit more health. I don't think we really need to be drawing the cards off of the Stinger. Such a big shutdown with the Scavenger. Right, see now we just have tons of health. We have a big board. Anytime we gain life, we can just draw a card with the Purifier. This looks pretty good. Not a bad draw two though, hitting a couple of expensive bros. This is a touch awkward, not being able, only having the singular planes. I have to play a spell on our turn. I think we'll just go with the Purifier. His attacks into the Purifier aren't very good. Beautiful, beautiful. So again, slightly awkward. We need to be playing a spell, or his werewolves are going to flip. I don't quite have the mana to get Bleed Dries going, so I think we'll just come in with the Bat. We'll sacrifice it off to the Gargantua, and we have another really strong blocker on our board. Uh-oh. He drew the Wolf Strike. Oh, no, he didn't. Okay. He started, like, highlighting our Pummeler, and I was getting a little worried for our friend. All right, we're cruising now. We get the means to draw a card every turn. Feels good. Care about that? that's the world we're living in now. Do we even care about that? I don't feel great about attacking here. But, I mean, we have a good Parasitic Grasp. Let's at least just start with this. Are you human? No, you're on the werewolf side. Cleave it. This is safe. Any trade is good for us. We're just drawing 2 cards a turn the rest of the way. We got the Fierce Retribution for this thing that's hard to block. This is safe. He has Death Touch. Okay. I was hoping to like stop playing land. I want to be able to discard some of these planes to blood tokens, but we kept drawing needing to get like swamps on the board. But yeah, powerful stuff. Good deal. Oof. Still feel like, well, I guess there at the end of the game we did just have a way bigger board than him. And so it feels like we drew all those cards and we weren't really far ahead, but not the case. Not the case at all. All right, so what are we doing with this one? If we draw planes, it's not even that great, but I think it's okay. Let's stick to our 7. We should have plenty of time to draw planes. We got this draw again. Do the old exploit thing if we can. Okay. So this is a matchup where hopefully these Rot-Tide Gargantuas are pretty good, right? If you have to sacrifice off a bunch of dudes to your exploits, then hopefully lose out on your on your ability to have a board. Get the Gargantuas hitting for multiples. This I'm actually looking to just discard Piercing Light. I don't think this is going to do anything this game. It is like this turn though, right? This is the one turn where Piercing Light's going to be good. All right, let's just get rid of the swamp. I feel like we're probably going to be in for a grind fest. This Piercing Light's going to be this is the only time we're going to go to get Piercing Light. Oh, still in combat. The Persistent Specimen does give us a few fits in terms of this Rot-Tide Gargantua, but I mean, if he drops like the Diver Scab, that's who I was thinking of. We get a pretty good specimen here. Like, what's he gonna? Is he gonna scab the token or actually hit the unit? Token. Okay. Sure. Put it on top. And how do we go about this? This is a turn where like we have to play the Gargantua, right? We can't have him just putting Persistent Specimens back on the board and messing up our exiles. I think we definitely get to attack with the Felstinger, though. Let's start with that. See what happens. I assume he's just going to take 3. And then we can... I think we want to sacrifice the Stinger here, right? So that we still have our access to life gain, so we can hopefully get a good Courier Bat a turn or 2 from now. And if we get that card advantage cycle of drawing the Felstinger back with the Bat, replaying the Stinger, and drawing some cards, seems like that should be a pretty strong combo of card advantage. And we still have a Blood Fountain hanging out on the board. Interesting, he keeps the Biolume Serpent. I mean, I guess you can return it to hand, but it feels like something you're rarely doing. Got the counter spell? Nope. Excellent. It's a commanding position now. This is why I don't like playing Persistent Specimen. Like, it's doing stuff, right? He's preventing a bunch of damage with it, but it's not like a big game breaker here or anything. We don't have a way around this, right? No. We're just losing our bat. A little sad, but... Well, actually, do we want to just discard the bat so we can get it back with Blood Fountain? I think we do. Then we'll just roll the dice with whatever we're discarding here. Okay. Gargantua is typically kind of a crappy loss, but if we couldn't really like sequence together a way to get it on board, I think that turned out okay. Okay, I'll trade the Gargantua for his Serpent if he wants. We've offered this up a few times. Then I'm going to exile his Diver Scab. I could not care less about these Persistent Specimens coming back and forth, but if he has a raised dead of his own, we want the Scab gone. It's pretty powerful. Alright, Digraph Scavenger, do your thing. Oh, cool. I was expecting a double block with the Mind Leech School. Guess he does have to kind of watch himself. If we kill off a unit, then we can do some things, but I think this is good. Dream Shacklecast is fine. Okay, so let's... Oh, well, okay, we're not playing spells. It's like, let's save that mana just in case he has a Syncopate, but that's not going to be the case ever. So we want the Stinger and the Bat. And then we're looking to play the Fell Stinger. We're going to kill off the Panic Bystander, draw the 2. Or, hang on, if we kill the Bystander, then we don't get to draw cards, which is a bit of a pain. I don't like that. Just get this whole sequence done. Okay. I didn't want to attack with our Digraph Scavenger and have it actually trade with some of this garbage. And so I think that turned out fine. Okay. Keep locking down the Gargantua. I'm going to start tapping his Flyer now. If he wants to attack with his Biolume Serpent and we kill it with the Fell Stinger, I'm pretty okay with that. And then we're building up to Bleed It Dry. Bleed Dry on the Dream Shacklegeist. Maybe we should have gotten rid of both specimens. I don't know. It doesn't feel like we should have gotten rid of those dum dums, but maybe we should have. All right, now our board is pretty strong into comparison to what he's doing. Desperate Farmer's fine. We're gonna get like a big attack in, and then ideally wear out some of this board and then get in a good Rot-Tide Gargantua. Right, so let's see. We attack with the Gargantua with the Stinger and the Scavenger. He blocks the Gargantua with the Depraved Harvester. He blocks the Stinger with, say, like a Mind Leech Ghoul, and then puts his Stinger in front of the Scavenger. That's not good attacks. Nothing about that seems good. We need to just like draw our Catilda. It's kind of scary. Have to deal with that. All right, Parasitic Grasp. You're not. Oh, does this? You gain 3 life. He flips. Okay. None of these targets are like super compelling, but I think we should probably just go ahead and play it. Is this a human? Okay. Look at that. He's got all his brains and everything lined up here. Ugh, that's not good. I mean, he's still gonna be able to like get us with the Screaming Swarm. He can just attack and start milling us for a bunch. I think we might have lost this game. He's gonna give us all the time we need to try and draw Catilda, but that's at least a perk. I mean, we have 16 cards in our deck. I feel like he could just, most certainly should be attacking with Persistent Specimen, but he could definitely get us milled out of this game quickly. So how do we gain a health, and then what do we even have to bring back? We could bring back the Nebelgast, I guess, or we could bring back the Courier Bat and bring back the Courier Bat, then the Nebelgast. Let's attack and see if he does anything. He's getting pretty low, so he might just let us do that. And then I guess at the end of the day, we can just sacrifice the Gargantua. Or sacrifice something to the Gargantua. Would we rather... I don't think we want to be targeting the Fell Stinger, though. I think we want to just hit the Digraph Scavenger. We could... Well, we don't have the mana to do the full cycle, but... Let's say we could bring ourselves back to... trying to use the Scavenger to spike their Persistent Specimen. But that would be pretty tough to pull off. let's see. Let's see where that one gets us. We have a block on the Screaming Swarm now, but really, wow, he's not cycling anything with his blood tokens. I can't decipher what's going on the other side of the board here. It seems like there's a lot of really powerful things that could be happening that they just aren't taking advantage of. Alright, but now that we have both of our bats back on board, we can look to, and our tapper, we can look to tap his flyer and then make actual attacks with our courier bats. Like, I worry at what point he's just going to be like, oh, LOL, I'm just going to mill, 11 cards off of your deck and then win that way. It's certainly a possibility. Yeah, just taking this. Ooh, and he mills Catilda. Do we just win the game next turn? is that what just happened? Did we just win the game now? Huh. He's only got one card. Nothing on board stops it. Return a creature. Oh, boo. This game's dumb. Fine. Alright, just want to get dudes on board. He can realistically just like attack and kill us, and so we have to watch ourselves for that. This is going to give him a flyer, whatever. We have a bleed dry in our hand. We can manage that. And the big thing is them being like, oh, LOL, I'm going to attack with everything and mill out your whole deck. Surprised they haven't done that. Or at least should be, attacking with a, like your persistent specimens, and some of these cards should be coming in. So it seems like, ooh. So it seems like you drew a removal spell there. Now we get the bleed dry. Target this dum-dum. This only works in the graveyard, right? From your graveyard. Okay. And here, I want to attack with both. He shouldn't be able to kill us now. And if, say, next turn he has a removal spell for one of our bats, or even this turn, I would like to be able to chain this around to where we can... Oh, hang on, we can't bring the bats back. That's not the way that works. I thought we were going to be able to get a chain of raised deads, but that's not the case. He's got 10 cards left to our 9. What do we even have left? How do we get around this flyer still hanging out? Piercing Light. We don't have any removals left. We're really counting on that Catilda to win the game. I don't think we can win this game anymore. Sacrifice 2 islands can't be blocked. Okay. We can block the Felstinger, but that doesn't seem particularly good. Yeah, I think this one's done. Losing out that Catilda was too much. Let me double check. Yeah, it's like we have attacks, but we can't get our things back. Okay. And so yeah, it's a little upsetting to kind of like have that come about like that. But again, the way that you have to kind of feel about those games when your opponent's just giving you a free 100 turns is it's not. It doesn't feel bad that they made less than optimal plays than one. It feels good that you were given opportunity to win a game that you had no business winning. And so if that Catilda stuck, or if we had another removal spell, a lot of those things could have gone extremely well for us. But he could have very easily milled us out like 5 or 6 turns ago. That I'm pretty confident the way that they should have been approaching that was you have that thing on the board that whenever you attack, you get to mill a card for every attack. And so they have all of those death touch creatures. They have the things like the 1/1 that keeps coming back from the graveyard. They could have been milling us, like keeping like 4 blockers back and milling us for like 5 cards a turn, and then ended the game in like 2 or 3 turns. Like I think they could have very easily gotten in, like like maybe across like 2 turns. Maybe you attack with like 4 creatures on one turn and then 8 on the next one, or however the math worked out. Right, you could have attacked with 4, attacked with 4, attacked with 8. Lots of options that we got to get away from that one there. And I'm ultimately wondering, I probably should. It's persistent specimen, right? It's that. That's the thing he's bringing back from the graveyard. I should have popped it with our exile guy. I think we let him get a little bit too far away with that. We just couldn't piece together. We were having trouble getting good attacks, but we couldn't piece together like a big aggressive attack because he always had that thing to shut down one of our 5/4s. But nonetheless, good game. GG, my man. Let's jump on to the next one. Right. But yeah, I think these games have been a pretty decent example of at least what why the format feels so different than the previous one. It's like I'm sitting in a lot of these games just being like, yeah, I wish I just had another draw to. It's like we have so much time to get all this stuff done. Just it feels like you really want to have multiple ways to be out here drawing cards or using blood tokens to get some additional values. Good stuff. But looks like we got a weird spirits kind of draw here. We got the fleeting spirit on the board with Catilda in hand. We'll see how this shapes up. Did not pick up the land. Piercing Light's not that exciting. It just lets us trade it for like the worst card in his hand, and then we don't even get the scry out of it. But oh, it's at the beginning. Returns at the beginning of the next step. That's okay. So I mean, do we want to go ahead and do it? He gets to counterspell this Piercing Light. But I mean, if we draw a swamp, we can still play this Graph Reaver, and then maybe we'll get like a thing next turn to where we can actually target a real unit with this thing. Did not play out that way. Still a really strong hand if we draw any mana. Curious if he attacks here if he doesn't have a combat trick, right? We're like, Bramble Armor. Okay. It's a decision. Okay. Well, I'll take the bait on whatever is happening here. If this is a unfleeting strike or whatever that thing's called, the +2/+2, pretty okay with it. He gets undestructible on the right. Let's discard something. I think we can get rid of the Felstinger. That's kind of like our slowest card that we have access to here. So discard a card, exile. So then it's just kind of like we're trading Fellstinger for his spell. That did not seem like a good attack. How do we just slam Catilda? Should be a 2-2. I mean, he doesn't have any units that can. I guess I'd forgot to consider that whether or not it's going to attack. I think this is okay still, but yeah, it's like he doesn't have any units on the board to really like punish us for doing any of this stuff. Alright, I trade my Catilda and my trick for your guy. I'm bringing it. You didn't take the bait. This is the unit I was talking about wanting some of. It just lets us gain so much life with it being on the board. I don't think we're in a space to want a Fierce Retribution though, right? We got tons of time against this guy. We got plenty of cards in hand. We can hopefully get them to do some weird stuff with their mana. Like I'm feeling pretty decent about this. Okay. Trying to think if like white black has a way to or green white has a way to hit cards in our graveyard. I worry about this Catilda hanging out in our graveyard now. Oh shit! God damn it! I just thought we were playing a unit and we were getting to tap the minister for health. Fuck me. That's enough to lose the game right there. So dumb. I think we're still okay-ish. Not blocking the wolf. Kill the bird. We draw the land. We can put Catilda on our Reaver and then have this 4/4 flying lifelink. I'm not completely opposed to just attacking, and then the Purifier has lifelink, so we attack, he blocks the Purifier with the Resistance Squad, takes 3, and then we just play the Courier Bat and bring the lifelinker right back. I think that's okay. It seems to me like they have like the way this would be problematic is if they had the thing like the removal spell, so our unit didn't get to deal damage. We'd be in such a prompt spot if we didn't click on that unit and just automatically sacrifice it. Frustrating. Okay, no blocks. I'm curious what he's doing as to why he's not spending his mana to pump the Snarling Wolf. Like, why is he just sending it back to us over and over again? Out of the kindness of his heart, he's he's letting us come back in here. Weird. I mean, he has to have a card, right? Oh, great. Love running into Helena and Elena. Card is absurd. This is the second time we've run into this, right? Somebody at Wizards was like, this would be a fun Magic the Gathering card to play against. This is loads of fun. This is still so weird to me that he's not doing anything with the mana. Okay. Has to have something, right? Witch's Web, okay. We has to use it on our Catilda unit. Maybe, I mean, that's why, I guess that makes sense that that's what his mana was there to do. He was saving the Witch's Web for if we ever got to flashback Catilda, and then he didn't get a block. Okay, well, we still managed to win the game when we sacrificed off our dude. That feels decent, right? We certainly aced their planeswalker. Oh Jesus. Okay. Glad we didn't lose out on that one and have a sour note on the day. Good game. All right, next game. Yeah. That matchup, I think, like perfectly illustrates what my problem with this format has been. I don't think like the deck I'm playing here is the perfect example. This is a bit more of a grindy deck than on average, but I think the same thing kind of applies. This format tends to be like really slow. People try to play these really grindy decks, and when you're running out here trying to play this like hyper curve, it's just really tough for those decks to beat. I think like the deck that opponent was playing in the previous game would have been absolutely fantastic in terms of the previous set. I just don't think it was that good here. All right, I was really hoping we were going to get to Piercing Light this Traveling Minister. Opponent got wise to the scenario. I'll still go for it here. If he wants to try and counterspell this Piercing Light, I'm completely okay with it. That, like, if he has to spend his counterspell to stop this, sure, we got a spell. That's like thing number 2 at this point. It's like Piercing Light. I thought it was going to be a bit of like a format all-star, but not the case. Not the case. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not unplayable. It's just there's formats where Piercing Light would be ridiculously strong. I think that the previous one was like the Crimson, not Crimson Vow, Midnight Hunt would have loved having Piercing Light in it. But all right, I don't think there's too much to punish this. He could have like a flash unit or something, but I think we just get in for damage almost every time. We'll run out the Blood Fountain. I'm intending on just drawing cards here. Not sure what opponent's doing. If they're playing like 3 colors and then they just haven't drawn their swamp, or I guess you don't feel really good about trying to play a counterspell onto a Blood Fountain, but what they're doing seems a little suspect. Okay, well, I mean, it worked the last time. Why can't it work this time? Why, yes, I would like to draw some cards. There it is. There's the third color. All right, I thought something was like a little up with what was going on there. It seemed like if their core was blue-white and they just didn't have anything to do. Still not doing anything. Okay. Well, mean, I'm all about drawing a card. maybe, maybe draw another one here. Nothing is scary here, though. I mean, if he wants to like flash the exploit rare, we can still bleed it dry and draw a card, and not draw a card this turn. But yeah, he's got it. Okay. I'm gonna kill it. Don't get me wrong. This thing's gonna die. Let's see if he kills off his traveling minister for no reason. I mean, we've certainly messed that kind of thing up. We didn't get to draw our card. What a tragedy. You know, this game's stupid. Not letting us draw a card for like the 5th turn in a row. This game is dumb. Oh, does he intend on blocking? Oh. Okay. I'll take the bait. Are we? Let's be real. We're not going to get a better piercing like than this for the rest of the game. Let's just go ahead and do it. And then if he tries to do like dumb shit like play a sure strike or something, then we still have the bleed dry in our hand. But I think this is good. Keeping the loots away from him is pretty nice as well. He's clearly having trouble with mana. Ah, he got us. He done boomed us. He should have done that before we went to our end step, but... And man, we don't get to bring it back with our courier bat. things things have gotten problematic. What has he got? We're only ahead 2 cards. He's got 26 in deck to our 22. I guess it would be about to be 3. Alright, so, a bit unfortunate. I mean, we scryed away the land. I just assumed we had infinite mana and stuff by this stage, but it's not the case. So I think we can just add a Gluttonous Guest, and then we can try and Fierce Retribution this Horned Heron thing, and then we're kind of lined up to try and hit it with the Digraph Scavenger. I think this is okay. We don't need to be like too aggressive with this life gain now. We don't have any payoff in our deck. We only have the 1 payoff card. So. If this gets countered, it's fine. I mean, we're at 28. We can take some damages. Okay. Alright, so we drew the land. I was going to say, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this bleed dry. If he can syncopate it for 2. Now, if he has like the uncommon thing, the spirit-based counterspell, or, then by all means, that's fine. But I think this is safe. You can have the spirit one. The cleave one costs double blue. So, right, you have syncopate, you have the cleave one, you have the counter a creature or a planeswalker at a blood token, and then you have... what am I forgetting? Forgetting something, but felt like we were safe there. Creepy Puppeteer, sure. Gonna have to kill that as well. I mean, I think kind of a mistake. I just, well, I'm curious at what point we should play this Catilda, but I was thinking maybe we could discard it for a blood token, but I kind of want to play Catilda and then just sacrifice her off to a Rot-Tide Gargantua. Jesus fuck, dude. Alright. I wonder what it feels like to have rares. Alrighty, well, we missed again. We have to start... Well, we don't have to... Like, we don't even we don't even have anything in our graveyard to bring back with the bat. But we have to start getting stuff on board so we can use our Gargantuas. So I'm gonna add Catilda. I'm gonna add Graf Reaver and not sacrifice anything. That's glad we still won that game, but no, decline. Decline. Aye. We're fine. We have time to come in here and deal with this thing. Boarded window, sure. I guess it does get in for a bunch of damage, but this is okay. Oh, yeah, come on, bud. Come and hang out. Oh, whew, ooh, that's scary. I had my water bottle on the desk. You knocked it over, but it's got a lid on it. Don't worry. I know you were scared. You were worried. But everything's fine, I assure you. Alright, so no reason to attack with the Gluttonous Guest. It's going to lose a point of attack. Get in for a couple with the Reaver. Then he's only got... Ooh, he's got 2 mana here. Oh, that's so scary. Alright, well, let's just keep adding dudes to the board. If he kills our Panicked Bystander, I'll be okay with it. It just keeps, like, stalling like this. I'm pretty sure he has, like, a Syncopate in hand, and so... I don't really want to get our Rot-Tide Gargantua syncopated. But here's the bait for you. If you want to take down the Panicked Bystander, by all means, take it down. Does this work on my turn? Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a thing. Okay. It does. Take us to 7. Well, there's no reason to attack with the Gluttonous Guest, right? Oh, hang on. That was bad. We shouldn't have attacked with the Reaver. He just gets a free kill with the Quartermaster. Okay. He didn't punish us anyways. We can't even play this now, right? Well, did we fuck this up? I think I fucked this up. We can bring Catilda back. I guess that's the way we have to do it. I messed that up. I had these intents to where I was going to get a courier bat on the board this turn, and it's not the case. Yeah. Damn. I don't feel like we should have lost this game. we should have done something differently here. But as I said about all these other games where we lost to the various, um, the various bombs, he ended the day with a Mana Storm Hellkite, and we don't have anything like that in our deck. We're just, I mean, we did have a pretty good run with with our uncommon unit, but uh, what a frustrating set of games. And so we can pull it up and talk about it a little bit more. I'm not like exactly sure how I feel about this. Let's see. Like one moment. Okay, it's yeah, like that. The deck here, it shows like how the format tends to play itself out a lot. There's so much just like stall and incidental ways to like gain health, and all of your decks are like incentivized to like really play towards blood tokens. And the deck like we ran into there, like the green red deck that we really beat up on, like it's, don't get me wrong, like green red is possibly the best deck in the format. Like if you go to 17 lands and look, like green is ultra successful, green red is very successful. The green X color pairings all have the highest win rate. And as to whether or not that's a function of um, it being early in the format and the aggressive decks being a little bit better, a function of green being a bit underdrafted since the synergies aren't like super apparent, and kind of like some of the leftover with green being the worst color in the previous set, not wanting to draft it in this set. I'm not like completely sure. Like it always takes a bit of time to kind of like figure these decks out and figure out what cards are good. Right, because if we take a deck like this, I think this deck is fine. But if we compare this to like the previous format, like Traveling Minister is garbage, Blood Fountain is garbage, things like Piercing Light are really top notch cards. And it's just, we have to get in the mindset that we're playing a different format than we were playing before. But I think that is kind of the problem I've really been running into here recently. Is I never like flip the switch to say like, okay, we're playing a different format, and like every comparison of cards I made was made in comparison to Midnight Hunt. And so I think I'm finally like turning the corner on that. I think I touched on it a bit in the previous video about how like the format's a little bit slower, excuse me, and like the draw twos are very important, and having the high quality removal spells is important. And you can have a deck to where you have like two Lacerate Fleshes and two 6 mana removal spells, and it's completely fine as to where you would never play that in Midnight Hunt. And I think we're getting all of that, kind of sorted out. And especially with this deck, as we're looking at it, like we had so many games where it felt like we drew like 4 or 5 cards with the Markov Purifier, and it just didn't feel like we were ahead. We had multiple games, and I'm pretty sure I called it out in the deck building as to where it was like, man, I wish I really had another draw two. And then we're kind of like running into the spaces as to where, even when we have these games to where like we can chain courier bats and make big like plays off of those, it just doesn't feel like enough advantage. And so it's kind of odd. I think that's slightly a function of playing this deck in particular. You don't run into this as much with other decks that are better at just closing out games, but that was one of the problems we ran into here. And then ultimately, in this one, we ran into what is my big worry for the format, and why I call it so much, why it feels like kind of a core set draft is, I felt like we were super far ahead that game. And if that dragon is just kind of like the 4/4 menace, right? That's the comparison I'm trying to make. Where I was saying in the previous format, you have your five mana rare card that just kind of wins the game almost all the time, but you can fit in just one of the commons and have a pretty reasonable amount of success otherwise, since the format is so fast. The expensive cards don't quite matter as much. Whereas here, like in that game, if that dragon was the 4/4 menace that makes 2 blood tokens, I think that's a fair comparison. I think we would have just crushed. We would have been completely okay there. Now I did get a little like bamboozled there at the end and messed that up. I think we could have figured out a way to get the get the courier bat on board, or even the bat plus Catilda or something. I was expecting some things to happen. I was planning on playing the exploit dude, and things got kind of weird. But I think the kind of the same idea still stands. Is like what feels bad about this is a deck I feel like if I was a little more familiar with the format and I could correct like 2 cards in the draft, we could take a deck like this to 7. And then we're gonna run into some rares, and they're just gonna blow us up, and that's gonna count for a loss. And we're gonna run into a game where we get mana screwed, and that's gonna count for a loss. But I think this is a deck to where we could still end up taking it to 7. It's just missing like a couple of picks that went wrong throughout the draft, and I'll go over the draft in a moment. But I think we can probably come in and figure that out. But yeah, at the end of the day, with something like this, I think you can kind of like see the power in having things like Traveling Minister. We did run into a bit of trouble to where we just didn't have the life gain activators to, draw a card, or to activate a courier bat. We were having to do a lot of finagling in some of those games to where we're trying to like attack and get a panicked bystander going or something. The Traveling Minister fixes all of those problems. And as you can kind of see in some of these games to where we just get to like 28 and 30 and 35, and we don't get it. Doesn't look like we're quite at 35 because our opponent's hitting us for like 5 a turn, and we're just not giving a shit. Like the Traveling Minister really does so much to just push those things forward. I would have loved to have had a second copy. I know we saw one at like a pick 3 or so where we maybe should have taken it, but that's kind of the big thing here. I feel like we missed out on a Traveling Minister, and I just wish we had like an easier way to win the game. This plan of trying to put Catildas onto the 5/4 flyers, we never pulled it off, and it's kind of tough to do anyways. I feel like both the times when we managed to like cast Catilda, opponents had removal spells for it anyways, and so it didn't quite play out how we wanted. And when I'm talking about, you're wanting to pick up a bomb in your colors, Catilda is not the bomb we're looking for in black white. She is bonkers strong in the Disturb deck, not so much the white black control deck, just trying to churn it out. But yeah, nonetheless, the other, big things I like to call out with this one, and the things I think they're kind of successful, these Fell Stingers are really good. I have really fallen in love with this card. This is just an extremely powerful one. Being able to trade up with the Death Touch is good. It's always very easy to find like something to sacrifice to this to pull off the exploit. And then, if you're looking to get these chains of things, like playing the Fell Stinger to do the draw 2 and then bringing it back with a Courier Bat, just a big way for you to come out here and pick up some advantages. Otherwise, we were missing the 2/3 lifelink that turns into an enchantment. That is kind of like tier 3 level life gain. You're really looking for things like Traveling Minister. Ideally, you can have something incidental like Panicked Bystander. Even things like Gluttonous Guest do work nicely, but I'm not like upset that we didn't have any of that enchantment. It would have been okay with the Drogskull Bear, but not so much the lifelink one. And I think the last but not least piece of this deck that we didn't get together. Let me pull it up. I can't remember its name. I've talked about it a little bit. This thing, the Heron of Hope. I feel like this is like the big thing our deck was missing. I feel like when you're playing the white black deck, it's not like super apparent that Heron of Hope is spectacular, but this is very, very spectacular. Like if we could take this deck, I'm not sure what we want to cut, but if we say like have 2 Traveling Ministers and 2 Heron of Hopes, like the Minister gaining like 2 on every tap, an incidental lifelink gaining a bunch of damage, or even just giving the Heron of Hope itself lifelink, or if you say use the tapper to give the Heron +1 attack. That's going to gain you 2 health. Then you give the Heron lifelink and attack with 3 power to gain 4 health. Like, it is just so brutal for so many decks to try to run through that, and it just gives you the opportunities to gain so much life. I think this will ultimately be one of the big finishers for this style of deck. And so I think if we could, like take this deck, cut out like this, even like say cut out the Rot Tide Gargantua, Catilda, and say something like Fleeting Spirit, and then just add in a Traveling Minister and 2 Heron of Hopes. I think that is like really close to a deck where if we look back at this in like 2 weeks, we'll be like, oh shit, yeah, that's an easy 7 winner. Just missing on the Heron and that the one card. I mean, again, ideally, we would have some more lifelink activators or some big rare bombs, but I think that is the key. Those are the two, I guess, kind of tenets to the white black deck. Will be having the good black removal, right? The bleed dries, the 6 mana thing that kills anything, parasitic grasp, mark of the vampire, whatever those things are called. Just like the good black removal, some traveling ministers, some Heron of Hopes, some ways to draw some cards, and then you're going to be kind of off to the races. And so next time this turns up, I'm really interested in seeing. I think we can pull off something with that. But this one is done. We'll collect our 1,400 gems in our packs. Got some more packs to crack in here, so we'll see what we can get. Oh man, a Forgotten Realms pack as well. Don't know what any of these are. Guardian of the Faith. How would we feel about this in the current set? It is a spirit. Flash Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. Interesting. I'm not sure what I think of that. All right, for the remaining Crimson Vow, yeah, like this is, I think like Hullbreaker Horror is exactly what describes this format. Hullbreaker Horror is extremely playable and extremely good. You should probably never lose a game where you play a Hullbreaker Horror, and I have to imagine that this is playable in literally every blue deck in the format. And so, if we were looking at Midnight Hunt, this was never playable. There's no way you're playing this 7-cost card in Midnight Hunt, but it is extremely playable here. And I think ultimately that's why I've been struggling for success in this format. It's taken me quite a while to just kind of wrap my head around this format's not as aggressive as it initially appeared to be. Savior of Allenbach, very strong, just exiling dudes. Even if you don't get like the trainings on him, well, you have to get the trainings on him. I'm trying to say if you don't get to like exile your opponent's dude, if you're only getting stuff out of the graveyard, very powerful. Jacob, I'm not sure on. I think he's gonna be like playable in every blue deck because he's a looter and the format's slow, but I'm not like real sure how often he'll get to flip. I think if we look at this card and say, would we play Merfolk Looter in this format? Absolutely we would. And that, like, right, there's so many graveyard synergies. Like, it's good early, it's good mid game, it's good late. And then during the late portion of the game, you get this big, just sort of like pseudo draw 2 over and over again, where it's better than drawing a card, right? Because you can play the card for free. Then I think he's fantastic. And so it's not a question of whether or not Jacob is playable. It's a question of like at what point in the draft do you take something like this. And I think, I don't know, maybe like 4 through 6 is where he belongs. And if you get it at like 6 through 8, you're just kind of like, oh shit, blue is really open. But he's nowhere near the same level of bomb as something like Hullbreaker Horror. Styncia Uprising, still love it in this format. Just generating all these 1/1s is pretty good. Going to face for 7 can be important, but again, you have plenty of time in this format for things to just dirtle. Generating a bunch of dudes is good. I don't think I've seen this. Yeah, I have. Okay. Yeah, when he enters the battlefield with a +1/+1, if you control an expensive permanent, and then when you cast an expensive, keep putting counters on it. And so very strong in the training decks. It's a wolf for the wolf deck. It's very well statted for the early game. Good stuff. I mean, I didn't think Alchemist Gamut was playable, but maybe it is. I think you have to be playing blue-red for this thing to be playable, but cleaving off extra turns is is pretty powerful. Lantern Flare, we've seen a ton. It's fine. And then Patchwork Crawler. I haven't seen a deck where I wanted the Patchwork Crawler. There's not a lot of activated abilities running around in Limited. You might be able to piece together a deck to where this guy's acceptable, but I would say like 9 times out of 10, you just don't want this. All right, and the last one. What do we got here? Graph Reaver. don't Graph Reaver away your life gain dudes when your opponent doesn't have any planeswalkers. Remember that. Learning top notch strategies here from FTP Bust. Do not sacrifice off your units when it doesn't do anything. So that is going to do it for us today. Those of you that see the length of video on this one are probably going to think we put like 2 drafts together, or we easily got a 7 winner, because this one has to be like 3 hours long. But if you made it the whole way through, thanks for staying. We really appreciate it. And that is going to do it. And so I hope you learned how to gain life a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way. Had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.